Good evening. Welcome to the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. Well, it was a very celebratory time on the last night of the Republican National Convention. I hadn't spoken on some of these other areas, but the Land of Heroes was on Wednesday night, and the final night last night was Land of Greatness. And what a great country we live in with a great president who cares about the American people. I'm going to be sharing a few stories here with you before I go into the final speech of the evening with President Donald J. Trump. I can only cover it briefly because it was quite a lengthy speech, but I'm going to try to hit on some high points and share with you, those of you who did not watch it all the way through. First of all, I'm going to talk about a statement that was made in support of President Trump by desegregation activist Clarence Henderson. He says that Donald Trump represents the U.S. and he fought for. Lunch counter desegregation activist Clarence Henderson on Wednesday endorsed President Trump in 2020 Republican National Convention speech. Henderson, who is black, recounted taking part in a 1960 Greensboro, North Carolina sit-in at the Woolworth department store and said President Trump represents the America he was fighting for. He blasted the Democratic Party, Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden for saying this year that voters ain't black if they don't vote for him. I'm a Republican, he said, and I support Donald Trump. Henderson said Trump has done more for black Americans in 4 years than Joe Biden has done in 50, he said. Joe Biden had the audacity to say, if you don't vote for him, you ain't black. Well, to that I say, if you don't vote for Biden, you don't know your history. Henderson praised Trump for signing the Prison and Criminal Sentence Reforming First Step Act, legislation that incentivizes investment in poor areas and permanent funding for historically black colleges. These achievements, he said, demonstrate that Donald Trump truly cares about black lives. His policies show his heart, Henderson said. The appeal to black voters follows similar speeches on Monday by African-American U.S. Senator Tim Scott, Republican of South Carolina, and on Tuesday by Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron. Donald Trump is offering real and lasting change, a country that embraces spirit of civil rights movement in the 1960s, a place where people are judged by the content of their character, their talents, and their abilities, not by the color of their skin, he said. This is the America I was fighting for in the 60s, for 60 years ago. This is the America Donald Trump is fighting for today. Many speakers of last week's Democratic National Convention denounced Trump's remarks on racial issues, including the national unrest following the May police killing. Now, you know, now I read articles and I read different articles, different places, but of course you got to always throw in a little something from their leftist side. Biden said in his acceptance speech last week that the moment I knew I had run was when Trump in August 2017 said there were very fine people on both sides of clashes over Confederate monument in Charlottesville. Anyway, I don't even get into what that man's talking about. He's just crazy. Anyway, moving on. On Wednesday night, Vice President Mike Pence accepted his nomination. Vice President Mike Pence on Wednesday urged voters to re-elect President Trump, hailing him as someone who believes in America at the 2020 Republican National Convention, accepting his party's vice presidential nomination from Fort McHenry National Monument in Baltimore to the cries of 4 more years. From a large crowd, Pence accused Biden and Democrats of demeaning the nation as it confronts the corona crisis and a painful reckoning on the race. And I've been to Fort McHenry. I went there when I was a young child in elementary school. The heroes who held this fort, he says, took their stand for life, liberty, freedom, and an American flag. Those ideals have defined our nation, Pence said on the third night of the convention themed Land of Heroes. Instead, Democrats, he said, spent 4 days attacking America. Joe Biden said we were living through a season of American darkness. But as President Trump said, where's Joe Biden? Sees darkness, we see American greatness. Well, we're going to take a short break right now. We'll be right back at you in a moment here on the Black Conservative Voice here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth.
Dr. Melinda Morris supports a strong economy, safe neighborhoods, limited property taxes, and promotes an improved education system. Dr. Melinda Morris wants to improve access and insurance coverage for medical care. Dr. Morris is pro-life and will support right-to-life legislation in Austin. Dr. Morris will remain true to her values when she is elected to office. She is going to Austin to promote life, prosperity, and personal freedom for the constituents of Senate District 13. Dr. Melinda Morris supports a strong economy, safe neighborhoods, limited property taxes, and promotes an improved education system. Dr. Melinda Morris wants to improve access and insurance coverage for medical care. Dr. Morris is pro-life and will support right-to-life legislation in Austin. Dr. Morris will remain true to her values when she is elected to office. She is going to Austin to promote life, prosperity, and personal freedom for the constituents of Senate District 13.
People there that were giving a Welcome back. You're watching the Black Conservative Voice here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. We're talking today, right now, about the fourth night of the Republican National Convention. You know, there were so many people there that were giving their testimonies, I call them, of what a Trump America is accomplishing in life. There was an Ohio man on the opening night where he said every day citizens, Democrat and Republicans, come out for President Trump. Jeff Van Duren, now Republican, former Democrat, he said many Democrats support Donald Trump. Mitch McConnell said that they want to tell us we can't even eat hamburgers. And he was talking about the different things that they say they can't do, but how much have they said that we can do? They want to restrict your freedoms. They want to take away your religious liberties. They want to lock you down. I heard Vice President Biden, former Vice President Biden, say just the other day in a speech that if he's elected, this is a commercial, if he's elected, he's going to declare a mask mandate. He's going to make sure everybody wears masks, no matter where you are. But another gentleman came on there, a sports speaker. He says he believes in the people. He believes in freedom, equality, and the opportunity that President Trump believes in for the American people. He knows President Trump. Another gentleman by the name of Sean Reyes, the Utah Attorney General, I believe he was. He's part Filipino, Japanese, and he said Hispanic. He came out with a Spanish greeting. He said his father was a man of faith. He had faith, family, and he loved his family dearly, and he was a warrior. He was a man that was standing for those things that were wrong in this country and in the world. He said also that his administration there, where he's at, is champion for human trafficking that is causing children and females, young women, to be sold into slavery and to sold for all kinds of reasons. He also fought for the Sean Reyes. He fought for the mental health of people, those organizations. He said Trump did what he said. That's why I support him. That's why I vote for him. He said President Trump, when he had visited President Trump at the White House and he signed an agreement dealing with these issues with human trafficking, he gave him a pen. And he said, give that pen to your father. And his father had that pen by him, next to him, on the day he died. That pen that President Trump brought to him. Because President Trump was a warrior too, just like him. And he fought for the people. In New York public housing, people were talking about how the president has enriched their lives through Dr. Ben Carson, who is the housing secretary. He says de Blasio, a lot of them said that de Blasio left them behind. He didn't take care of the communities, the public housing, and he just let things go. And so Ben Carson came in with funding from the president to bring change in the poor communities, the public housing in that city of New York. And let me tell you something else. If you elect Joe Biden, he wants to bring projects in the suburbs. He said you should be living in a nice house after you work so hard and be able to come out and not have to worry about what everybody else has to worry about in the inner city. Yeah, give me a break. If I work that hard, and of course, even if they work that hard, they don't want to be in those areas. Some of them have to be there because of their incomes and because of the things that they have gone through in their lives. So to say that they must take public housing in communities where people take $200,000-$300,000 per home is mere foolishness. Now, I'm not saying that those people in those lower cost housing or public housing are bad. I'm just saying that you work hard in this country to achieve a certain status, just like everybody does. Nobody wants to come under attack. What do you think? They got these things that happened even recently here in St. Louis. People are having to defend their house because lawless individuals coming through their property, knocking down their gates. And of course, in Democrat and funded state and a Democrat city. Well, we're going to take a short break. We're going to be right back at you in a moment here on a Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert.
Commander-in-Chief. It's more than just a job. Since taking office, President Donald Trump has rebuilt our military, repaired a broken VA, and eliminated Soleimani, al-Baghdadi, ISIS, the world's deadliest terrorists brought to justice. Today, America is safer and stronger than ever. Because to President Trump, it's more than just a job. It's a sworn duty to keep America safe.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Welcome back. You're watching a Black Conservative Voice here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. There was another lady. This is a very sad story. There was a lady who came. She was one of the ones that was the wife of the first officer, I believe one of the first officers who was killed by Antifa and the BLM people that were on the street there, and I believe it was Michigan. He was gone out because an alarm went off at his friend's business. On this particular night, he would usually wake his wife up and tell her that he was going out. But this night, he didn't want to disturb her, and he went out, and he never came home. He was shot to death. He was a retired police officer. He was shot to death on those streets there trying to protect a business of a friend of his for many years. She had to hold back the tears even talking about it. And people, so many other people have died in these situations where the Democrat Party is ignoring it like there's nothing wrong with this. This is just peaceful protest. Do you you know that even the gentleman that came from New York, a police officer, been in the police force for over 36 years, he came and he said that over 1,000 murders have happened in the city of New York since all this mess has begun. This has got to stop, and I know that President Trump is the man that's going to stop it when the time comes. When he gets reelected to office, he is going to bring out the National Guard, and he's going to end all this mess, regardless of whether you Democratic mayors or Democrat governors, whatever you say. He is going to end the mess. Ben Carson calls for unity and to think for yourself and to realize the only thing that can keep you from a better future is you, as stated once by motivational speaker Jim Rohn in his motivational as a motivational speaker. That's my line. I took it because I want people to understand. In order for you to have a better future, you've got to do something. You can't sit around on your laurels and do nothing and expect to become wealthy or rich or whatever it is. This is a country, a free enterprise system. This is the very thing that the Democrat Party is trying to take away from the American people. The ability to go out and achieve great things, even if you came from poverty, as many of us have. Even Dr. Carson came from poverty. The Democrats want to defund the police, close prisons, and this is Antifa and BLM's thing too. This is communism. If you look at Karl Marx, that's exactly what he wanted to do. If you look at Hitler, that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to defund the police. He wanted to end any opposition to him. So, coming up next, Rudy Giuliani spoke as well at the fourth night of the Republican National Convention. He spoke about crimes that Democrats used George Floyd's death to turn protests into riots. He talked about all who have been killed in that Democrat city, which we just mentioned a minute ago. He calls for the President Trump to make our nation safe again. And I'm calling for the same thing. So as we take a break, we'll be right back at you in a moment here on the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert.
Joe Biden, 47 years in Washington, 47 years of failure, skyrocket.
Another couple came up, Carl and Martha Mueller. They were the mother and father of Kayla Mueller, killed by ISIS in Syria in 2013. They talked about how they went to the White House trying to get President Obama and Vice President Biden to do something. They left that woman's daughter over there in confinement, solitary, for 18 months. She kept approaching the White House, and by the time that Obama and them decided to do something, they had already removed her. And they heard that a year later, their daughter, that time when they said that 18 months, their daughter was killed. They have still not been able to relocate their daughter's body. Now, their daughter was raped repeatedly by the gentleman al-Baghdadi, the one that President Trump took out in recent years. Trump named the operations after their daughter Kayla. It was called Operation Kayla Mueller 814 in commemoration of her birthday. Now, they never found her body, but they went in and they killed al-Baghdadi for what he did to their young daughter, who only wanted to help children and people, poor people and people who are struggling in other nations. Trump did what President Obama refused to do, they said, and through his delays, their daughter died. He kept postponing and pushing it off. Thank God we have a president now that acts when acts need to be done. Please vote Republican in November and get us out of this hell that the Democrats want you to be in. Riots in our streets, killing of people. This place looks like a third world country now. And they said, they still, like I said, they still do not have their daughter back. Well, we're going to take a short break right now. We'll be right back at you in a minute, and we're going to be getting into, hopefully got time to get into the president's speech.
Joe Biden, 47 years in Washington, 47 years of failure, skyrocketing healthcare and drug prices, higher taxes on working families, disastrous trade deals, jobs shipped to China and Mexico, total failure. Now Biden's embraced the failed policies of the radical left. The biggest tax increase ever, massive job-killing regulations, amnesty for illegal immigrants. After 47 years of failure, we've had more than enough.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
After this break. Welcome back. You're watching The Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert. There was still another young lady, Alice Marie Johnson. She was released after being sentenced for 22 years for crimes that she may have committed, but her sentence was too long. It was not the crime. The time was not with the crime. But this lady, she became the spokeswoman for all those people who have been unfairly mistreated. President Trump listened to her, and he helped to pass the First Step Act, which dealt with the sentencing of a lot of African Americans that put us in jail for an inordinate period of time. Well, I want to mention one other thing before we move on. If you're interested in advertising on this program, we have good rates here, very low rates, and on the program we have several commercials, so you can advertise here. Just contact the email on the bottom of the screen. Once again, President Trump speaks. Ivanka Trump, his daughter, introduced her father. She gave a heartfelt speech. He says what he means, she said. He is unapologetic about what he stands for. And she made a clear suggestion. As I always said, he's not going to shut up. He's going to tell you the truth. I told you the other night, that was the way my mother was. You might not like the way she bring it out, but she's going to bring it out in truth. The First Lady and President Donald Trump looked amazing as they came out to speak. She had a beautiful flowing, I guess it's lime green gown. It was gorgeous. She looked like a model once again, which she has never stopped looking like one. But I am very proud to be American. They came out to that music. The crowd chanted 4 more years. Okay, we're going to go through real quickly. His speech is very long, but I'm just going to go through briefly what he said. Hopefully I have enough time. I try to hit as many points as I could. But he came out and he honored the people who supported him going in and the people who are still there supporting him right now. Then he talked about our nation and talked about the bright future under his administration. He talked about his plans to carry on in the same vein, continuing to good days accomplished. He talked about prayer and lifting up the people that were under the Hurricane Laura destruction, speaking of them and the fact that there was less casualties than it had been in previous years. And he said how he was going to help the state of Louisiana and Texas through FEMA to resolve some of these issues, and he was going back down there himself. He spoke that we are one nation, one national family. And he thanks his wife and for her love and support, and he thanked the American people. He thanked his children, and he thanked his daughter Ivanka for introducing him, and he spoke about his brother Robert watching him from heaven. He gave credit to Mike Pence, his vice president, for being there with him, for standing by him through all these difficult times, helping him with the coronavirus problems. He accepted the nomination profoundly. The Republican Party, he said, is united to come across the aisle with the Democrat Party to achieve a better future for all Americans. He said, "Our hope will not be cloaked in darkness. It is a torch that lights the world as we look to God for strength." Now, I'm paraphrasing because, like I said, he gave long speeches. He gave a history lesson to us about Jefferson, Grant, and Lincoln. Of course, mentioning also that Lincoln was a Republican. And he did pen the Emancipation Proclamation. And he talked about generations of past leaders who were united in faith and moved forward over every challenge. The most important election in history is the election that we face right now. This election to elect our 45th president back to office. That president is Donald J. Trump. He talked about what will happen if he is not elected. He said the radical left will dismantle and destroy our economy. They will raise taxes in our country. They will lead our country out and spend so much and continue to tear our nation down. We don't look to career politicians, he said. We put our faith and our trust in Almighty God. Joe Biden is a destroyer. He lied to the American people. He is sending our prosperity away. He spent 50 years doing it. He said that I'm going to bring our military home. There's not going to be any more long, drawn-out year after year wars where we stay in occupation like a police force for people who do not know how to control their nations. And he kept his promise. No new wars. He didn't have any new wars. He sat in and took care of Baghdadi and Soleimani, but he did not create a new war. And he says he is committed to bring our soldiers home. I know earlier I heard about the fact that Germany has also been mistreating us a lot like China, taking advantage of our kindness. But we're under a president right now that you better not take his kindness for weakness. He's a strong man, and he's here to serve the United States of America. Well, I want to thank you once again for joining me here on the Black Conservative Voice. And I look forward to being with you once again on Monday evening, here on the Black Conservative Voice. Thank you for tuning in tonight. And I urge you to vote for President Donald J. Trump when November 3rd gets here. And vote to get back control of the Republican Senate and regain control of the House of Representatives. Once again, I'm also calling on the African American people. Go out and vote for those African American candidates in those Democratic cities who want change and want conservative views for you to take care of your family, to bring the fathers into their homes, and to create unity in the nuclear family. Once again, I want to say God bless you, God bless America, and God bless the world. This is David Colbert on the Black Conservative Voice saying good night and God bless.